I'm Alex Villarreal with the VOA Special English Education Report. For years, the Catholic Church in America has struggled to find new clergy. The average age of priests and nuns is 70 and rising. But some Catholic orders are having more success than others. The Dominican Sisters of St. Cecilia are mainly a teaching order. They are based at a convent in Nashville, Tennessee. And they just celebrated their 150th year. The sisters are active across the United States and in Australia. There, they teach more than 13,000 students in 34 schools. Today, St. Cecilia's has its largest number of postulants in many years. A postulant is a candidate for admission into a religious order. Sister Catherine Marie, a spokeswoman, says the current group of first-year students represents 10% of the whole order. She said, "There are 270 of us, and our growth of late has been rather extensive. This year, we had 27 young women enter. Last year, it was 23. Nearly 1/3 of the women in the order are under 30. Sister Catherine says she thinks these young women are looking deeper into their faith in reaction to changes in society. Participation in organized religion is falling among Americans under age 30. That was the finding of a national survey last year by the Pew Research Center. A different group, the National Opinion Research Center, recently found that 17% of Americans do not identify with any faith. And another poll found that this was true of almost 25% of first-year university students. Sister Kelly Edmonds is a first-year postulant at St. Cecilia's. She says she came to the order out of a desire to serve others. She had seen Dominican sisters serving at the University of Sydney. Sister Victoria Marie is in her second year. She came to the convent with a degree in civil engineering. She says she had discovered that people were more interesting to her than roads or bridges. A postulant's day includes work, study, and prayer. Sister Victoria says it requires a lot of energy. But Sister Kelly says she was surprised by how much time she has gotten to simply enjoy life. She said, "There have been a lot of fun moments just to be outside and enjoy the beauty of the world and creation." For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. You can get transcripts, MP3s, and podcasts of our shows at voaspecialenglish.com. I'm Alex Villarreal with the VOA Special English Education Report. 25-year-old Rick Aguilar says he discovered early in life that music is magic. He says, "Music made me feel like anything was possible." At the age of 7, a medical condition required him to have a brain operation. It also prevented him from playing sports. So his mother suggested that he learn to play drums instead. He says, "I started playing drums with Ronit Glick. She was my elementary teacher. I remember just the joy it brought to me. It was my favorite thing. 6th grade was a new school, and I had a hard time getting along with all the kids. and Ms. Glick just took me in, and I had so much fun at the program. It just felt great all the time. Rick Aguilar graduated from the Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts in 2007. While there, he volunteered as a music teacher at a youth center in the Dorchester neighborhood of Boston. He helped create a small music club within the center. The music clubhouse at the Blue Hill Boys and Girls Club quickly grew. Young people come to the music clubhouse after school and during summer vacation. The club provides a safe environment to learn to play instruments and to perform together in bands. The club even has its own recording studio. The club has released 2 albums. The second album is called Because of You. 14-year-old Javon Martin performs under the name Young Fresh. He joined the music clubhouse 3 years ago. He says he never thought he would be doing this, but now he gives shows and his music is on the radio. People are starting to see him as an artist. 10-year-old Akila Hunter joined the club last year but did not play an instrument. Now she plays piano and sings in a band. What she likes best, she says, is performing. The music clubhouse opened 3 years ago and has served almost 500 young people. Rick Aguilar says preparing and performing is good for them. He says it gives them confidence and is also an escape from problems in their lives. They can write songs and rap about their problems. Rick Aguilar says he is happy but not surprised by the results of the music clubhouse at the Blue Hill Boys and Girls Club. He says as much fun as he has performing, it's even more fun to watch these kids grow up and develop. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Zaytuna College is a new 4-year college in Berkeley, California. Zaytuna is seeking to become the first accredited Muslim college in the United States. The name comes from the Arabic word for olives. The process of full accreditation could take several years. That will make it easier for students to get financial aid and to have their education recognized by employers and other schools. Zaytuna held its first classes this summer, intensive study of Arabic to prepare for classes in the fall. Men and women sat on opposite sides of the auditorium. Most of the men had beards and wore skull caps. Most of the women covered their hair with scarves. Zaytuna currently offers 2 majors, a choice of Islamic law and religion or Arabic language. General education classes include American history, anthropology, philosophy, literature, and political science. Imam Zaid Shakir is a professor and co-founder of Zaytuna. He was born in Berkeley. The college website says he accepted Islam in 1977 while serving in the United States Air Force. Imam Shakir says he wants teachers who are trained and educated in the United States and who understand American society. There are millions of American Muslims, but the Imam says most of the teachers of Islam in America received their training in other countries. He says Islam has never become rooted in any land until that land had its own Islamic scholars. Michael Higgins studies the relationship between religion and higher education. The United States has many different religious colleges, but he says he fears there could be protests if Zaytuna College is seen as teaching students not to accept other religions. This September 11th will be 9 years since the Al-Qaeda terrorist attacks on the United States. Imam Shakir recognizes that those attacks and other plots since then have fed public suspicions about Islam. But he says opponents of the college represent a minority opinion in the United States. He says they are reacting to a small group of extremists, a lunatic fringe in the Islamic community. He said, "And I think this is why Zaytuna College is so important. If we prove ourselves, even those more vocal critics will be silenced. It's up to us. The ball is in our court." And that's the VOA Special English Education Report.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Americans have never had national education standards. Goals for what public schools should teach are set by state and local school boards. Their members are often elected. But some Americans say the lack of national standards is wrong in a competitive global economy. Former President Bill Clinton said it was as if somehow school boards could legislate differences in algebra or math or reading. President George W. Bush and Congress expanded federal intervention. His education law, still in effect, required states to show yearly progress in student learning as measured by the state's own tests. Now, the Obama administration supports what are known as the Common Core State Standards. These were developed in a year-long process led by state governors and chief state school officers. Texas and Alaska were the only states not to take part. The standards are in two subject areas: English language arts and mathematics. They establish goals for each year from kindergarten through grade 12. The aim is for students to finish high school fully prepared for college and careers. The developers considered standards in other countries, along with almost 100,000 public comments. One way the Education Department is trying to persuade states is with money. States are competing to share in almost $3.5 billion as part of a school reform competition. They earned extra points in the race to the top if they approved the standards by August 2nd. States are trying to recover from the recession. There are concerns that some could accept the standards and then lack the money to follow them. The final standards were released June 2nd. A report in July said about half the states had approved them. The Thomas B. Fordham Institute is an education group in Washington. It says the standards are clearer and stronger than those used in 3/4 of the states. But the comparison also found that existing English standards are clearly stronger in California, Indiana, and the District of Columbia. States that approve the new standards have a right to add up to 15% of their own. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. Transcripts, MP3s, and archives of our reports are at voaspecialenglish.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and iTunes at VOA Learning English.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Millions of students have been taught a formula that has nothing to do with chemistry. The formula is for how to write a 5-paragraph essay. First, write an introductory paragraph to state the argument. Then, add 3 paragraphs of evidence. Finally, write a conclusion. Linda Bergman is director of the Writing Lab at Purdue University in Indiana. Her job is to help students, including international students, improve their writing. Professor Bergman has worked with many students who learned this traditional 5-paragraph formula. She says international students sometimes have difficulty with this formula if they learned a different writing structure. But just knowing how to write a 5-paragraph essay is not going to be enough for a college student who has to write a longer academic paper. As Professor Bergman points out, the formula is too simple to deal with subjects that require deeper thought and investigation. In her words, essentially, it is way too simplistic to handle more intellectually sophisticated topics which involve actual inquiry. Karen Goshik is Executive Director of Courses in the Institute for Writing and Rhetoric at Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. The Institute has an extensive library of online writing materials on its website. So, what are the qualities that make up good writing? Ms. Goshik says there are no simple answers, except maybe for one. That is, there is no formula that students can follow to guarantee a well-written paper. She says, what we try to teach students to do in college is to listen to their ideas, and that the idea should be able to tell you what form it needs to take. She says moving from secondary school writing to college-level writing can be difficult, but students should not be afraid. American college students are usually expected to state their thesis at the beginning of a paper. In some cultures, students organize their paragraphs to build toward the main idea at the end. And while students in some cultures use lots of descriptive words, American professors generally want shorter sentences. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. Tell us about your own experience with academic writing. Go to voaspecialenglish.com and share your stories. And before you write that next paper, check out 2 links on our website. One is for the online writing lab at Purdue. The other is for the Institute for Writing and Rhetoric at Dartmouth.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Many colleges and universities in the United States have writing centers to help students improve their skills. Some materials are available free at websites like the Purdue Online Writing Lab or OWL. The site is connected to the Writing Lab at Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana. It includes resources that can help non-native English speakers. VOA's Art Chimes recently spoke with the director, Linda Bergman. She said the Purdue Online Writing Lab is a collection of workshops, worksheets, and instructional materials. For example, even native speakers are often not sure when to use lie and when to use lay. The site gives these example sentences. After laying down his weapon, the soldier lay down to sleep. Will you lay out my clothes while I lie down to rest? The problem is that lie also means to not tell the truth, as in, I lied to my mother. So you would say in the past tense, I lay on the bed because I was tired. The Purdue Online Writing Lab also explains how to use an apostrophe correctly in possessives and other cases. People often add an apostrophe to its in a sentence like, the group made its decision. There should be no apostrophe because what you mean is that the decision belongs to the group. Its with an apostrophe is short for it is, as in, it's raining. The Purdue Online Writing Lab also explains how to organize papers and avoid plagiarizing other people's work. And it provides a guide to higher education in the United States, including explanations of commonly used terms. Director Linda Bergman says the goal is to provide as many tools as possible. They include basic language skills of agreement of subject and verb, use of commas and other punctuation, and complete and incomplete sentences. The website was started in 1994 and has plenty of fans. Linda Bergman says, we get a lot of thank you notes from people around the world. And also some schools in other countries use it as a writing handbook, as do some schools in the United States. In all, the Purdue Online Writing Lab offers over 200 free resources for writing and research. The address is owl.english.purdue.edu. For a link and to learn more about higher education in America, go to our website, voaspecialenglish.com. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. China will have a record number of graduates moving into the job market this summer. 7 million people will finish their studies and begin building a career. But China's economy is slowing down. Chances for jobs for many new graduates are not good. To make things harder for current job seekers, more than 200,000 who graduated last year are still looking for jobs. Hu Jingdou, an economist at the Beijing Institute of Technology, said only 30% of graduates can be employed immediately. The Economist said the majority of students remain unemployed and looking for work. And it is not just the number of graduates that is making the job search difficult. After years of strong growth, China's economy is slowing. Chinese leaders say they are struggling to keep growth about 7%. But Hu Jingdao says a big problem is the structure of Chinese industry. He says there are many places in China where graduate students are needed, but are not willing to go. Recently, Chinese Premier Li Keqiang called on companies to give more opportunities to new graduates. In response, some privately run enterprises have announced increases in their hiring of new graduates. Observers say the government could go even further by giving private companies tax incentives and funding to help make them more equal to state-owned enterprises. They also say the government could encourage new graduates to work in smaller cities away from China's coastal area by giving them payments or other benefits. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. More than 100,000 international students will spend this summer working and traveling in the United States. They are participating in the Summer Work Travel Program through the State Department. They receive J-1 exchange visitor visas. The idea is for students to work for up to 3 months and earn enough money to then spend a month traveling before they return home. The Summer Work Travel Program has existed for years. This year, there are some changes. The State Department recently amended the employment rules. These changes follow a strike last summer by foreign students working at a distribution center for Hershey's chocolates. The State Department said the students were put to work for long hours in jobs that provided little or no contact with the outside world. The students complained about having to lift heavy boxes and to work overnight. They and other workers protested conditions at the plant in Palmyra, Pennsylvania. The students also complained about being underpaid as a result of deductions from their earnings. Some of their pay had to go to subcontractors involved in the operations. The State Department has now banned the use of summer work travel students in warehouses or packaging plants. Also, the majority of their work hours cannot fall between 10 at night and 6 in the morning. The students are also barred from jobs in workplaces that the Federal Labor Department says are unsafe. More jobs will be banned in the fall. These include most construction, manufacturing, and food processing jobs. Summer work travel students will also not be allowed to work in most mining and agricultural jobs. Daniel Costa at the Economic Policy Institute in Washington welcomed the new limits on jobs that the students can fill. He says the change will protect foreign workers from getting injured on the job. It also protects U.S. workers, he says, because of high unemployment in many of those jobs. He also praised a requirement that employers only fill temporary or seasonal jobs with summer work travel students. Some employers have continually hired new student workers to avoid having to hire regular full-time employees. Jacob Horwitz is lead organizer for the National Guest Worker Alliance, the group that organized the strike in Palmyra. He says the State Department's changes will help return the program to its original purpose as a cultural exchange program. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Claremont Lincoln University, near Los Angeles, is a new graduate school for religious education. It hopes to change the way religious leaders in the United States are educated. The school will train Muslim, Jewish, and Christian clergy together. It offers master's degree programs in interreligious studies and Muslim leadership. Administrators think that this is the first interreligious university of its kind. 3 institutions founded Claremont Lincoln. One is the Claremont School of Theology, where the university is located. The other founders are the Academy for Jewish Religion, California, and the Islamic Center of Southern California. Students from one institution may take courses at the others. The Islamic School is just beginning its programs. The founders hope to begin training imams sometime next year. David Lincoln is chairman of the board of Claremont Lincoln. He and his wife Joan donated $50 million to the university. He says, in a lot of places now, religions fight each other. And if the religions could encourage solutions to the problems, then the problems would be solved, and we'd all be better off. Reverend Jerry Campbell, president of the Claremont School of Theology, says teaching religion this way will strengthen society. If we can't love our neighbors who are not like us, if we can't love them being who they are, how can our country hang together? Jihad Turk is Director of Religious Affairs for the Islamic Center of Southern California. He says this way of educating religious leaders will show that in the United States, there is great support from private institutions, from the public at large, and by the government as well, that recognizes that Islam and Muslims are on the side of peace. Ibrahim Rasool, South Africa's ambassador to the United States, spoke at the university. He says interfaith cooperation is a way to balance extremism. Anyone can step into the breach and claim to be speaking for God. And unless the middle ground is able to establish what is God's purpose, we will cede more and more ground to the fundamentalists. Reverend Campbell says he hopes to bring more religions to Claremont Lincoln, including the Baha'i faith. An international school of Gen Studies will offer short-term exchange programs and seminars on Jainism, a religion from India. Reverend Campbell says the goal is to unite people, to promote religion as a source of healing, compassion, and peace. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Prasuti.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Today, we talk more about the costs of higher education in the United States. If you missed last week's report, you can find it on YouTube or at voaspecialenglish.com. Foreign students who need financial aid generally have to seek it from the school itself or their own government or employer. If you follow the news, then you know that President Obama recently signed healthcare reform legislation. But one of the two bills he signed into law also made unrelated changes in the federal student loan program. These changes will require new loans to come directly from the Department of Education. The department already makes these federally guaranteed loans for American citizens and permanent legal residents. But since the early 1990s, it has also paid private lenders to provide them. Now, as of July 1st, all new loans will go through the direct loan program only. Officials say the new law will save the government $61 billion over 10 years. The plan is to use more than half the savings to provide more federal Pell Grants to needy students. A few billion will also go to schools that traditionally serve minorities and to help two-year community colleges. The new law will reduce the most that borrowers must repay each year from 15% of their income to 10%. And the longest repayment period will be shortened from 25 years. Any remaining debt will be forgiven after 20 years or 10 if borrowers enter public service. Supporters in higher education said the final bill did not go far enough. Republican opponents called it an unnecessary government takeover of a private industry. Another criticism was that the financial services industry could lose about 30,000 jobs. The Department of Education reported last year that about 2/3 of graduates from four-year colleges had student loan debt. The average was about $23,000. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. You can discuss education and other subjects on our Facebook page at VOA Learning English. You can also find transcripts and podcasts of our radio programs at voaspecialenglish.com.
I'm Alex Villarreal with the VOA Special English Education Report. For years, the Catholic Church in America has struggled to find new clergy. The average age of priests and nuns is 70 and rising. But some Catholic orders are having more success than others. The Dominican Sisters of St. Cecilia are mainly a teaching order. They are based at a convent in Nashville, Tennessee. And they just celebrated their 150th year. The sisters are active across the United States and in Australia. There, they teach more than 13,000 students in 34 schools. Today, St. Cecilia's has its largest number of postulants in many years. A postulant is a candidate for admission into a religious order. She was my elementary teacher. I remember just the joy it brought to me. It was my favorite thing. 6th grade was a new school, and I had a hard time getting along with all the kids. And Ms. Glick just took me in, and I had so much fun at the program. It just felt great all the time. Rick Aguilar graduated from the Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts in 2007. While there, he volunteered as a music teacher at a youth center in the Dorchester neighborhood of Boston. He helped create a small music club within the center. The music clubhouse at the Blue Hill Boys and Girls Club quickly grew. Young people come to the music clubhouse after school and during summer vacation. Catherine Marie, a spokeswoman, says the current group of first-year students represents 10% of the whole order. She said, "There are 270 of us, and our growth of late has been rather extensive. This year, we had 27 young women enter. Last year, it was 23. Nearly 1/3 of the women in the order are under 30. Sister Catherine says she thinks these young women are looking deeper into their faith in reaction to changes in society. Participation in organized religion is falling among Americans under age 30. That was the finding of a national survey last year by the Pew Research Center. A different group, the National Opinion Research Center, recently found she has gotten to simply enjoy life. She said, "There have been a lot of fun moments just to be outside and enjoy the beauty of the world and creation." For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. You can get transcripts, MP3s, and podcasts of our shows at voaspecialenglish.com. I'm Alex Villarreal with the VOA Special English Education Report. 25-year-old Rick Aguilar says he discovered early in life that music is magic. He says, "Music made me feel like anything was possible." At the age of 7, a medical condition required him to have a brain operation. It also prevented him from playing sports. So his mother suggested that he learn to play drums instead. He says, "I started playing drums with Ronit Glick. That 17% of Americans do not identify with any faith. And another poll found that this was true of almost 25% of first-year university students." Sister Kelly Edmonds is a first-year postulant at St. Cecilia's. She says she came to the order out of a desire to serve others. She had seen Dominican sisters serving at the University of Sydney. Sister Victoria Marie is in her 2nd year. She came to the convent with a degree in civil engineering. She says she had discovered that people were more interesting to her than roads or bridges. A postulant's day includes work, study, and prayer. Sister Victoria says it requires a lot of energy. But Sister Kelly says she was surprised by how much time she